live with that. Hi, I'm Steve from Florida, and I wanted to talk about VPNs. VPN is stands for Virtual Private Network. It's your number one defense from things that could happen to you when using the internet. Doesn't matter if you use Facebook, Snapchat, YouTube, any social media program. It doesn't matter. You still need a VPN for protection. Here's what happens. A VPN, it establishes what in computer science we like to call a tunnel. The tunnel, anything that's inside the tunnel is encrypted so that nobody from the outside can read it or understand it. Only the people that are the endpoint and the start point encrypts it, the endpoint can decrypt it, and that's it. So now it still goes through the hardware, so your ISP will know that there's data flowing, but they won't be able to decrypt it and know what you're doing or that it's even you, who you're talking to, or have any knowledge of any of the content. So you're in effect protected. The privacy of your message is protected. Now, here's the other thing about a VPN, and I'm going to use an analogy. I'm going to say when you write a snail mail letter and you give it to the post office, and the post office has to deliver that mail, it knows where the recipient of the mail is because each one has an address, like 123 Oak Street, for example. If it wasn't for that address, the post office wouldn't know where to deliver that mail. And your message would never get to the person or people that you intended for. Well, every device that uses the internet also has an address. It's not a street address like 123 Oak Street, but it is an address. It's called an IP address. It's constructed according to an internet protocol. Is this for public and Wi-Fi from an internet company or just public internet? No, this is for everything. Every device that uses the internet has an IP address, every device. Because without the address, there's no way to route the traffic, the data that you're looking for, the photographs, the voice, the cartoons, the stickers, the memes. There's no way to get them to you unless you have an address. So it's called an IP address. You're meaning to use a VPN. Well, we're going to get to how the VPN works with it in just a second. Thanks for your question, Reggie. When every device on the internet has an IP address, and what happens is the way people find you is by that IP address. So your NIC card, your network interface card, which is the hardware part of what makes the network connection that's in your device, okay? The NIC card has a MAC address and an IP address gets assigned to it. The IP address generally gets assigned to it from a server or from a router or from a different device that's pre-designated to do that function. So, but once your device has an address, it tends to keep that address. The problem is once that address becomes known by someone needing to see your information or dox you or whatever the case may be, once your address is known, they can use that address to get at you. What a VPN does is obscures your address. it actually changes your address to a fake address, so that when they go looking for you, they go looking for you at the fake address, and you're actually over there. It's looking for you over here, and you're over there. And that's also part of what a VPN does, is it hides your address so that only the people that you're intending to communicate with, data, email, Snapchat, Twitter, whatever the case may be, only done for the people you want to have communicating with. So a VPN does two functions. It encrypts all the data being sent and received, and it hides your IP address. And those two things alone, just if you don't take any other precautions, that's about 50 or 60% of the bad stuff that can happen to you on the internet is solved by just doing those two things. So a VPN is a nice tool to have in your toolkit. And I recommend a VPN for each of your computers and each of your smartphones. Now, you have to be careful when you shop for a VPN, because there are some gotchas to know about. If a VPN service logs things, that means that every transaction that goes through the tunnel is being recorded in a log. Well, someday the court might come along and say, you have to give me those logs for for inspection during our court case. See, that's bad, because there's logs, and your confidential information are in those logs because they're recorded. So you want to use a company that does not record transaction logs, that has no logs, because if they have no logs, there's nothing for them to turn over, and your security is maintained. So that's a thing to be aware of. Another thing to be aware of is, if a company that provides a VPN service gets too big for their britches, what happens? Banks, Netflix, Amazon, places like that will recognize that, hey, this is a VPN. I don't want to deal with a VPN. I want to deal with the regular people, because I don't want to deal with the encryption. They want to know what the transaction is. So what they do is they block VPN addresses. And so you end up going on to Amazon, for example, and it says, well, we can't do this. You have to turn off your VPN. Well, if you've got to turn off a VPN, that's basically saying to you, you're going to have to use us unprotected. And that's never a good thing. So you want to have a company that's small enough, they're kind of on the down low, so that a lot of people don't know about them, and you don't get asked to turn off your VPN protection. So the other thing is, there are a lot of free VPNs available on the network. And I can tell you from my experience, not one of them is worth anything. Do not use a free VPN. Free VPNs, number one, they don't work properly. Number two, because they're free, they're not making any money back at the ranch. So they're not going to put any time or effort into fixing bugs, into maintaining the code. Why should they? They're not making any money, so they just kind of throw it out there. So you don't want to use a free VPN. You do need to spend money. There is the VPN that I recommend is called the Bytes VPN. That's BYTZ _ VPN. and it's made by a person. I actually know the guy. His name is Rob Braxman, and I know him through Periscope. He scopes from Friday night through Monday night at 11 p.m. Eastern. And he's also known as Rob Music. He plays the piano, and he's part of a band and all this kind of stuff. But he's also been in computing, in the technical end of it, for more than 40 years, even longer than me. And so far, I've been a follower of his for a long time. And so far, everything that he has said from a technical perspective has always checked out to be true and correct. So as far as I'm concerned, this guy knows what he's doing. So those are my recommendations for VPN. I hope I answered your question, Richie. If not, please ask it again. Or if there's any other questions you might have. Yes, no, yes, no. Okay. Well, that's all the information I have for today. I hope you found this useful. If you have any questions, I would suggest you go to the Bytes_VPN website, or you can contact me at Steve. I'm at Steve from Florida. That's STEVEFRMFL at gmail.com. In the meantime, you're very welcome, Richie. Have a great day, and thank you for your attention.